One time I was having this really bad day. I think I had got back a bad test grade and also been splashed by a bus driving through a puddle and also gotten into an argument with a friend all in the same day. I went to the closet just to have a quiet place to calm my nerves, and I sat there for a while with my head in my hand. Then I heard a voice. He said, "You want to know real pain?" One time, I accidentally recorded over the tape of my favorite album. I was partaking in my weekly Sunday ritual of avoiding church. I woke up early, snuck out of the house, and went to a nearby beach. My parents were used to this and dismissed it as part of my rebellious teen phase. I sat in the cold and watched the gray surf wash in and out. The pale winter sun shined, but provided no warmth. Smoking a cigarette, I listened to my tape of the Strokes. Julian Casablancas sang in his gravelly voice, "Is this it? Is this it? Is this it?" The song was probably like the rest of the Strokes songs, and it was about some girl. Casablancas was asking whether his relationship is at its end. But on a morning like that, it could have been an existential crisis song. Like the singer was looking around and wondering, "Is this it?" Down the shore, I saw a dog trotting towards me. It reeked of pitifulness. Its yellow fur was stained with dirt. Its eyes drooped, its tail was slack, its head hung low, and its tongue stuck out panting. It could have walked right out of a Humane Society commercial, and I wanted none of it. I got up and started the journey home. As I walked on the side of the dirt road, I saw the dog following me. It kept its distance, but still, I didn't want rabies, so I picked up a heavy rock and sped up a bit. The dog trailed me all the way to my house, a modest yellow house with barren hydrangea bushes in the front yard. I entered through the back glass door and quickly closed it in the dog's face. I thought that'd be the end of my dog problems. It wasn't, of course. Instead, the dog just lay down on the porch, staring at me as if to say, "What you gonna do?" I went to the kitchen, got a bowl of tap water, and fished out the meatballs from Thursday's dinner onto a plate. When I presented it to the dog, he scarfed it down and licked the plate clean. I scratched his neck. I'd always wanted a dog. When I was 8 years old, me and my older sister Cassie watched this kids movie called Milo and Otis. It's about a cat named Milo and a dog named Otis who are best buds and go on adventures. After watching this movie, me and Cassie begged our parents to get us a dog. They refused because they didn't think we were responsible enough, but one day, though, there was a glimmer of hope. My mom went out for a run on the beach, and a neighbor's dog ran with her. She was so charmed by the experience that a week later she said she'd get a dog. She's dead now. She died pretty soon after that. Then my dad married a woman named Denise. She's allergic to dogs, so I never got one. I inspected the dog's collar. There was no name tag and no address, but there was a rabies vaccination tag with a serial number on it. I went inside to do some research. The dog tried to come in with me, but I kicked him away. When I saw him on the other side of the glass door, looking all betrayed, I couldn't stand it, so I let him in. It was cold out. A person with half a heart would have done the same thing. I went to my dad's computer, a beige Apple dinosaur, and found a website to look up the rabies serial number. The dog apparently belonged to a Leland Warner, who lived on 3495 Shell Basket Lane, Ocean City, Maryland. A mental picture formed of Leland Warner. An awkward dad, mild-mannered and kind, maybe likes disco music or something equally embarrassing. Probably would be ecstatic if a kind-hearted kid went through the trouble of returning his dog. As I sat at the computer, I saw my dad's minivan turn into the driveway. Pretty soon my younger step-siblings, Alex and Jean, busted through the door. The dog bolted after them. I'd grabbed his collar in preparation for this, but he was much stronger than he looked. He tore towards Alex and Jean, both of them squealing with delight. The dog jumped on Jean, and she hugged him. Denise stomped into the house and accused, "William, what is this?" My father came in too, and tried to look angry. I ignored the fact that I've told her a million times that I go by my middle name, Wes, and explained, "A stray dog followed me from the beach, and I let him in." I was very civil, you see. As she tried to separate the dog from her children, she said, "It's one thing to skip church, that's your decision, but you can't let a wild animal into the house, but this is someone's pet. Dogs are like children, you know, and this dog's been wandering the beach for who knows how long, and it needs some care." My father chimed in, "Come on, Wes, you know your mother's allergic." "She's not my mother. I just didn't want the dog to die. It's not like I do everything I do to piss off Denise." My father growled, "What did I say about calling her Denise?" Denise struggled to pull the dog away from her children. Meanwhile, Alex waved a payday bar, cooing, "Come on, doggy, come on, it's all for you." Denise said, "Alex, Jean, no time to play. William was an idiot and brought home a dangerous animal." I said under my breath, "I can think of way worse things to call her than Denise." My father scowled, but before he could yell at me, the dog broke free of Denise's grasp and jumped up for the payday bar, his mouth snapping at both the candy and Alex's hand. Alex let out a deafening scream. Honestly, it wasn't even that bad of a bite. It didn't even puncture skin. But that sort of thing doesn't matter to kids. Like, this one time I was helping Jean out with a diorama for school. She asked if she could use the hot glue gun, and foolishly I said, "Okay, just be careful." Sure enough, she burned herself while gluing a plastic tree, and of course she cried, and Denise scolded me, saying I didn't care about Jean's health. I do care, by the way. Anyway, after that, Denise made a point of not letting me babysit Alex and Jean. Yeah, my point is, kids always cry like they're getting murdered, and this dog bite was no exception. Denise rushed over to hold Alex. I grabbed the dog's collar, which was pretty easy because he was contentedly munching on Alex's payday bar. Denise kept on repeating in a soothing tone, it's okay, Mummy's got you." And then she turned to me and yelled, "William, get that thing out of my house." She carried Alex out of the front door, and Jean followed. My dad followed too, but not before shooting a glare and saying, "I'm very disappointed in you." It felt like a wasp stung me in the face. What did I do? I didn't get an answer. I leaned out the front door. "Where are you going?" Denise yelled, "To the hospital, where do you think?" As the minivan left, I realized they didn't even take off their coats before everyone got pissed at me. The dog brushed against my leg. "You cause a lot of trouble, you know that?" He looked at me with the sweetest brown eyes. "At least you have your looks." I knew that Denise would want to send the dog to the pound, so there was only one option: return the dog to its owner. Only trouble was, I didn't have a car. If this happened a couple years ago, my sister Cassie could have driven me, but now she's a moody, starving writer type in New York City, the place that self-absorbed people migrate to, because they think it'll automatically make them interesting. A couple months ago, I could have asked my friend Jasper Finicky for a ride. We'd been friends since we were kids, and he had this rusted Isuzu that really wasn't roadworthy. We called it Old Reliable. Unfortunately, I wasn't on speaking terms with Jasper. We didn't get in a fight or anything. He just found a girlfriend, this nerdy girl named Michelle, and we started hanging out less. Because I didn't have a ride, I walked a mile to Coastal Highway, held the dog with a rope in one hand, and stuck my thumb out with the other. It was a humbling experience. I couldn't really blame the 1,000-plus cars that passed me by without a second thought. If I were them, I wouldn't have stopped either. I probably looked like a runaway or a homeless kid with a diseased-looking dog to make things even more fucked up. I was about to give up. I said to myself, maybe it's for the best no one is letting me into their car. The hypothetical person who'd let me into their car was likely even weirder than me. Me and the dog would probably get kidnapped and get made into a pair of leather shoes. Just as that line of thought passed through my head, a black pickup truck stopped in front of me, the engine growling like a hellhound. The window rolled down to reveal a sun-baked man. "Where you want to go, son?" Ocean City. I can get you across the bridge. You have to put the dog in the back. I thanked him, lifted the dog into the bed of the truck where there was a bunch of wood, and then hopped in the front. He started driving. After a silence that was too long for strangers to keep, the man asked a question that wasn't too invasive. "What's your dog's name, son?" Before this, I hadn't even considered that the dog had a name, so I ran with the first thing that popped into my head. His name's Otis. As in Milo and Otis? Yeah, I loved that movie as a kid. Did you know that during the film of that movie, they killed a dozen dogs and cats? Oh. It made sense. There is a scene in which a cat goes down a river rapids in a basket. I could see in my mind's eye a bunch of yellow cats floating dead on the water. After another lengthy silence, I said, "I saw in the back you had a bunch of ash. Are you delivering it to a campsite?" "Hey, you're pretty sharp. That is ash. How'd you know that?" "My mom was a park ranger at Assateague Island. So do you guys go camping a lot?" "We used to, every year, but not anymore. My dad always has some excuse." I started thinking about those camping trips. Mom would send me and Cassie out to get kindling for the fire. We'd compete to see who could collect the most. Meanwhile, my dad would cook dinner. Grilled chicken that had been marinating all day, canned porks and beans, juicy watermelon, and potato salad. My mom's potato salad is the only decent one I've ever had. I remember one time we were eating around the campfire having a joke-telling contest. Mom told a series of cow jokes. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Why do cows have hooves instead of feet? They're lactose. What do you call the feeling? You've heard this bowl before. Deja vu. The first couple of cow jokes, me and my sister groaned, but she kept running with it. She told cow joke after cow joke until we were laughing so hard we couldn't breathe. Together we watched the sun slip under the horizon. So many colors swirled in the sky. Blue, red, orange, white, and pink. I think about that moment a lot, actually. And whenever I do, I feel this dull ache inside. I was tempted to tell the sun-baked man about all this, but I thought better of it. Once the sun-baked man got me across the bridge, he dropped me and Otis off at the bus stop. It was the middle of winter, so no one else was there. The next bus didn't come for another half hour. I had 2 quarters in my wallet, one of which I used for a payphone. I could always talk to Cassie. She was always willing to hear me complain about Denise, and I was always willing to hear her babble on about Kurt Vonnegut. I dialed her number, but only got her voicemail. I sat down on the bus stop bench, tied the dog to a post, and closed my eyes. I had this dream in which I was a dog in an animal shelter, locked in a cage. People would come up to the cage and inspect me, except since I was on the ground, I only saw their legs. They'd look down at me, and after a while they'd walk away to look at another dog, saying something like, "Not this one, I don't like the breed." And then other people would come and do the same exact thing. I remember vividly one family, 2 kids with muddy sneakers and jeans, a woman wearing a skirt and pantyhose, and a man in dress shoes. The kids chorused, "Can we have this one, Mommy? Can we have this one?" And the woman said, "I don't think so. Let's keep looking." And off they went. It was a fucked up dream, but it's pointless to dwell on dreams. I mean, they don't mean shit. Anyway, I heard these explosive barks, and at first I thought it was part of my dream, but then I woke up and saw Otis trying to get a seagull. The bus came 5 minutes later. When I tried to get on, the bus driver, a lady with a face that looked like it never smiled, said, "You can't bring the dog on the bus." I knew she was right, but I felt like arguing with her anyway. "What? There's no one else around. I'm literally the only person trying to use the bus, so why not?" "Do you seriously just ask that?" "Just think about it," she said while tapping her head. "Gee, sorry I wasn't born knowing everything. I'm only human, unlike you. I bet you were born knowing everything. You're a real piece of work, a literal god, as beautiful as one, too. She frowned at me like I was sour milk, closed the door, and drove off. I watched the bus speed across the stoplight as it turned red. I had 30 blocks to walk. I started walking and got kind of depressed. I kept on looking at the Ferris wheel on the boardwalk. During the summer nights, it's beautiful. Its lights are on as it spins, and it shines every color of the rainbow. During the winter, though, it's like a metal skeleton. It's like that everywhere. Everyone's hunkered down, waiting for summer to come. Also, the wind from the Atlantic is a bitch. It'll pierce right through you, no matter how many layers you wear. 10 blocks into my trip, I was cold and tired, but Otis looked even worse. Earlier in the day, he'd pull the rope and try to sniff and pee on every tree. Now, I was pulling him. "Come on, Otis," I said. "Come on." Poor Pooch. He'd been walking all day, and all I gave him to eat were those meatballs. I picked him up and carried him. He was warm and alarmingly light. It felt like I was holding a cloud to my chest. It wasn't an unpleasant feeling. I walked like that for a bit, but then behind me a car honked. A beat-up black Camry that I didn't recognize. It slowed down to my walking pace, which really wigged me out. I fucking ran. It must have been quite the sight. Dog in my arms, running on the side of the road from a Camry. The Camry kept pace with me, and the windows went down. A voice yelled, "Wes! Wes! Slow down!" It was Jasper. I looked at him not knowing what to feel. It's weird when you're friends with someone, and then they just become someone you met or hey to when you see them in the hall. He stopped his car next to me. "Hey Jasper, what happened to Old Reliable?" The day came that Old Reliable was no longer reliable. Better question, what the heck are you doing all alone in Ocean City carrying a dog? He's a stray. I'm trying to return him to his owner. He offered me a ride. I knew it'd be awkward, but it was too cold and my legs were too tired to pass up the opportunity. I put the dog in the back and sat up front. On the radio, a man with a southern twang sang about home and his mom's apple pie. God, I hate country music. It all sounds the same, and the singer puts on this thick country accent, even though I bet half of them are from New Jersey or someplace like that. Jasper used to hate it too. We tear it apart whenever it was on the radio. I said in an accusatory tone, "Since when do you like country?" He said, "Oh, Michelle likes it. Some of it's not bad. You should give it a try." Somehow, the fact that Michelle got him into it didn't surprise me at all. She's this girl with glasses, dresses like a librarian, and plays saxophone in the marching band. She's so giggly and annoying. She laughs her head off at stuff that's not even remotely funny. Also, she has the worst taste in just about everything, so of course she likes country. Jasper said, "She asked about you the other day. She wants to see you more." Fat fucking chance she said that. Whenever the three of us hung out, she gave off a million signals that she wanted me to fuck off. I said, "Is that so?" "Yeah, I hardly feel like I see you around these days. Where you been?" "You know, around." On the radio, there was a yee-haw preceded by a banjo solo. "So do you listen to this mostly, or do you still listen to the Strokes at all?" "Not really. Michelle doesn't like the Strokes. Too much yelling." I made a noise at this, a scoff I tried to pass off as a cough. Michelle had really neutered the poor guy. Jasper asked cautiously, "Why don't you like Michelle?" "To tell you the truth, I don't feel one way or the other about her. I'm indifferent." "That's bullshit. That's so obviously bullshit." Looking out the window, I saw that we had only gotten 5 blocks, and he was already sore at me. "Fine then. I think she dragged us down. It used to be us versus the world, and then Michelle came and things became less fun." Jasper turned off the radio and raised his finger like he was considering whether to say something. "I don't think that's true," he said. "That might be the story you tell yourself, but I don't think it's true." "Okay, since clearly you know better than I do what I feel, what is the truth?" "You're jealous of her. You don't like me having to split time between you and her." "Fuck you, I'm not jealous of her. I'm not crazy. People grow apart, that's all." Everything about Jasper seemed to droop. "I can't accept that. Remember when we were kids? The stick wars in the creek? and collecting blue crabs and trying to get them to fight. Remember playing rock music in my basement? We probably sounded terrible, but we couldn't tell. Jesper smiled a bittersweet smile at those memories. He said, all caught up, "Remember that day that you found out about your mom?" When he said this, I did my best to stop myself from thinking of that memory. It was like the moment before you puke, when you close your mouth as tight as possible and tense up, but it comes anyway. It was spring, a nice day, that let you know summer was on the way. Mom gave me my bag lunch, and I went to school, and she went to work. But that day, a crazy man with a gun, named David Mitchell, went to Assateague and shot 2 hikers and 4 horses. The police pursued him, and he fled near my mom's ranger station. She tried to apprehend him, but was shot. The police eventually cornered him, and Mitchell shot himself in the head. I was in school, thinking about a spelling test when all this happened. Jasper looked straight ahead at the road and said in a lifeless voice, "At recess, kids were saying something terrible had happened at Assateague, and I remember that you ran away into the woods. I went looking for you, found you under an elm tree. I've never seen someone in so much pain. I didn't know what to do, but I knew you were my friend. So I wrapped my arm around you. That happened, and I don't see how you can go through something like that and then drift apart." I felt transported back to that day, driving home from school in the back of my dad's car with my sister, who couldn't stop screaming, and my dad, who wouldn't look at me. And I was wishing for a lot of things, wishing that Mom wasn't a hero, wishing that Mitchell was alive so I could hurt him, wishing that I pretended to be sick so Mom would have stayed home. I turned to him and said, "You are so manipulative." "What?" he said, looking like he'd been gut-punched. "You're so manipulative for bringing that up." "I wasn't trying to be manipulative, I'm just..." "Yeah, whatever, let me have the car now." "Wes, calm down." "I'm not gonna calm down. If you don't let me have the car, I'm gonna jump out. Okay. He slowed down. Before the car stopped, I shot out, grabbed Otis, and ran away. Jasper stayed there, stopped in the road, shocked. I ran into an alleyway and sat down against the wall. I was so pissed about Jasper. Why the fuck would he bring that up? It drives me nuts, people bringing that stuff up. Who the heck wants to be reminded of that sort of thing? I might have stayed there forever, but then something funny happened. Otis started licking my hands, and that settled me down. I guess it reminded me I had a job to do. Walking took a while, but I got there. The end of my troubles. 3495 Shell Basket Lane, a quaint light blue house with its paint chipping away. I stood there for a second. The dog wagged its tail. It knew this place. I couldn't help but smile. I did a good thing that day by returning the dog to where it belonged. I went up and knocked. There was no sign of life behind the door. I was about to knock again when a fat lady opened up and said irritatedly, "What?" I looked at her confused. "Hi, does Leland Warner live here?" She scowled at me and said, "Not anymore. What do you want?" I found his dog on the beach near my house, and I wanted to return it to him. She looked down at the dog and said, "That's Leland's dog. I don't want it." "What?" "He took everything from me except his stupid dog, and I don't want it." "Wait, that's not how this works. It's your dog." "No, it isn't. I don't want it. It doesn't work like that. Dogs are like children. You can't abandon them. It's not my fucking dog, okay?" She slammed the door shut, and I tried to keep it open with my foot. Pain searing through my leg. I yelled, "What the fuck, lady? Take your fucking dog. You can't abandon it. What's wrong with you?" She said through the door, "If you don't leave, I'm calling the cops." I couldn't believe it. In a daze, I limped off the yard and took the dog with me. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. My thoughts spiraled around how unfair and terrible that lady was. I wanted to throw a brick through her window. And you know what was even more fucked up? How Jasper hardly talked to me for months and then brought up that story. Or how Denise lost her shit at me when the only thing I did wrong was help a stray dog. You know, she's had it out for me ever since we met. And whenever we fight, Dad always sides with her. I looked around, and I saw I didn't know where I was. I've known every part of Ocean City ever since I was 12, and I didn't know where I was. I felt like I was in the middle of a concrete maze. I saw a payphone, and I had 1 quarter left. I probably should have called someone for a ride home, but I was so upset that I tried to call my sister again. The phone rang and rang. With each ring, I felt my heart pang. I was about to slam the receiver onto the hook. But then, hello? Hey, it's Wes. Oh, hi, Wes. What's up? You know, I read something in a Kurt Vonnegut book that I thought you might like. Cassie, the world is completely full of shit. What's wrong, Wes? After I told her everything that happened in my shit show day, the first thing she said was, you know, you could have tried to call him. Looked up Leland Warner in a phone book. No, that would have been too smart and saved too much time. Why does the world have to suck so much? Wes, I'm not defending what she did. What she did was awful. But try to see things from her point of view. Sounds like she got a divorce. You are defending her. She's a monster. She didn't give a shit about her dog. And now Denise is going to send it to the pound where it's going to get euthanized. Oh, the dog's not going to die. Calm down, Wes. Everything's going to be all right. You don't know that. I just know it's going to get sent to the pound where it's going to die all alone and no one's going to love it or give it a second thought or even look at it. It's bullshit. It was shunned by his family, and now what the fuck is it supposed to do? This isn't only about the dog, is it? I almost dropped the phone. Why'd you have to leave, Cassie? Oh, Wes, no one's abandoning you. It's been so hard here. First with Mom, then you leaving. Now Jasper hardly talks to me, and Dad, he's too preoccupied with Alex and Jean. It's like he and Denise started a new family that I'm not a part of. She paused, like she was about to say something profound. Kurt Vonnegut once said, "No," I yelled. "No Vonnegut. I'm having real problems right now, Cassie. I know. Just hear me out." Kurt Vonnegut once said, "For a long time, I wondered where home is, and then I realized it's Indianapolis when I was 9 years old. I had a brother and a sister, a cat and a dog, and a mother and a father and uncles and aunts, and there's no way I can get there again." I stood there speechless, thinking about how far away I was from the camping trip with marinated chicken and corny cow jokes, separated from the moment by a sea of time, separated from the people by hundreds of miles, or a failure to communicate, or in the worst case, the veil between life and death. At that phone booth, I realized it was true. There was no way to get there again. Cassie called Dad and asked him to pick me and the dog up. Dad and I didn't talk much on the ride back. When I got home, I went right to bed. I was staring up into the darkness when I heard the door creak. I thought it was my dad or Denise, and I didn't feel like talking. But it wasn't. I saw Otis's soft eyes. He trotted in, gently hopped onto my bed, and nestled next to me. We were two strays, wondering where home was. At least we could be strays together.
Thank you for listening to Stray. It was written by Jefferson Pan, and the audiobook was narrated by Jefferson Pan and contains songs by The Strokes.